My name is Ryan Miller, and I've spent the last 15 years helping hundreds of people just like you to raise millions of dollars for their funds and for their startups. I am on a mission to help investors and founders to create new jobs, extreme wealth, and the dream life they deserve. Join me as we peel back the curtains and explore fresh ideas and dynamic personalities as we all move toward our dreams of making billions. Let's get into it. This week, I'm bringing on one of my mentors and dear friends, Tristan Ham. Tristan is a highly sought-after startup pro and has mentored hundreds of early-stage founders on how to cut through the noise and get right into the latest tools and techniques of building their startup. You don't want to miss it. Plus, Tristan reveals the secret unicorn startup strategy of viability, desirability, and feasibility, and how you can use it to validate your startup ideas so that you too can build the startup of your dreams in your pursuit of making billions. Here we go. Hey, welcome to another episode of Making Billions. I'm your host, Ryan Miller, and today I have my greatest friend, Tristan Ham. And Tristan Ham, he is one of my friends, and what he does is he's a partner at Unbounded Thinking, and what they do is they specialize in innovation management and forecasting. Another thing that you do from talking together is you actually help a lot of founders to start literally from ideation, where you just have a concept and you don't know what to do. You go talk to my man, Tristan. So Tristan, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. This is brilliant.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And we're certainly fortunate to have someone to share your wisdom with our guests around the world. I've heard back from a lot of my fans or followers or whatever you want to call them, friends, we'll say. And they said, hey, this is really good, Ryan, investment finance. But what about us founders, right? We address founders and funders. And so today we're going to address the founders of companies, whether that's you're founding your own investment fund, that's a startup, but more on the actual products and services that a lot of people do. So you've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people to get things over the finish line or learn not to take it over the finish line. So maybe you can help our audiences, bring us up to speed. Let us know a little bit about, you got such a cool background. Just kind of bring me up to speed and on what brought you as one of these leaders of helping people to start businesses.
Oh, well, thank you. Very generous. A leader, maybe more of a guide, maybe like a referee, maybe.
There you go.
Might be more accurate, but definitely, and absolutely, it's a blast to get into someone's business and figure out like what is the best habits you should be really pursuing, what makes sense, and just ask those good questions. But my path there was an insane windy road that was not where I thought I would end up, as many people have, kind of thing. So to take you back to way back 100,000 years ago when I was born, my career started as an actor. I have a degree in theater, and I had intentions to be like a professional actor. Yeah. I was in Vancouver, I was in that scene. I wanted to be on film and TV and theater and things like that. And so I studied that, gave it a red hot go. I learned, and which is interesting because it's a neat parallel to actually be an entrepreneur, is this need to hustle. Like you got to be self-promoting all the time. And so I was not great at that time. I didn't really understand the cause and effect, which is weird, I know, but I was like, I'm just going to wait for that work, for those agents to discover me, kind of Johnny Depp style, and go, this kid's got it. Yeah. Put him on film, which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I left that behind, and I moved to Australia with my girlfriend, my now wife, and she needed to go back to be with her family. And so when I was in Australia, I thought, okay, I need different direction. So I went into child protection. Yeah. And in that, I learned about adult learning, about typologies, about what is it like to be an adult and learn new concepts and new ideas and things like that. And I became sort of their go-to facilitator for a lot of these great frameworks for crisis intervention or like trauma-informed stuff. And so really learned not just that industry, but how to engage with people, how to learn, how to help them learn, essentially. And I did that for about 7-8 years. And then we came back to Canada, and I worked for a resource center where I was in more social work.
Yeah.
And same thing, I was their go-to person. Actually, I got into the craze when I came over. There was a craze about fatherhood initiatives, and so I got hired onto this place to create programming around fatherhood initiatives, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I got to set up all these like father clubs and stuff like that, and these great projects and things. And again, engaging with people who, maybe needed a platform to have their say, some drive, and just became a big advocate of being a cheerleader for people's great ideas, great endeavors.
Yeah.
I later went and got into a business where I was teaching soft skills, like employment skills, to people who were making a career change. They were in oil and gas. It had kind of shit the bed a little bit. And so they wanted to get into IT and into tech and things like that. And so they were learning about 5 different programming languages, like Python, C++, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I was doing was I was taking them on field trips to Startup Edmonton, which is kind of where I work now. And their whole purpose was to support entrepreneurs, people who, want to chase their idea, are tired of working for other people, want to make an impact in the world in some capacity.
Yeah.
So I learned that there was a role available there, and I really liked the fact that it was going to be centered around more teaching, more coaching, more support for these folks that have this incredible itch, this idea that they want to do something in the world, and they just need a way to go forward, a way to find out how to do this. I started working for them. Yeah, that's where we are.
Awesome. And so that's where you come in, and that's where you like to shine. And so, a lot of people, so bringing you, me and many of the listeners around the world, bring me into that moment. So you have someone that comes and they said, hey, Tristan, I have this great idea to invent this thing, or, maybe there's an unmet need. Where would you start with someone in concept mode, we'll call it, just to say, how do I even determine if my idea can grow some legs in the market? Like, where would you start someone? What advice can you give to some of the founders?
Absolutely. And this is my everyday is meeting with people who have that exact sort of intention. And what's funny, what's buck wild is that they're coming at me from different sort of intentions. They're coming at me from different perceptions and assumptions about this industry and things like that, which is always interesting. Because I've had people come to me and be like, you know what, I've spent thousands of dollars on my app. I've built it. It's amazing. Yeah. Now I just need money and customers. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's incredible. Did you build this in consultation with the people who are going to love it? Did you consult with them? Did you actually talk to them first to figure out if they want this? Yeah. They're like, nah.
Nope.
I didn't want people to steal it. So, so I mortgaged my house, I built it, and here it is. And that's a dangerous way to approach it for many reasons. One of the biggest ones is we don't even know if people give a shit if they want this.
Yes.
And so this massive capital investment into an app or your business or whatever it's lovely and pretty to look at, but you haven't identified if anybody even wants it. Like, is it something that you should have done? That's the biggest thing. Yes. And so that's always hard. It's always a hard thing. And anyway, so people are coming at me with various different stages. And typically what we do, the easiest path, the best path, I think, going forward there is we start to explore the lean canvas.
Yes.
Is the Ashmoria lean canvas. And that's our go-to foundation when people come to us. And what that does is it breaks apart your whole business, your whole assumption, even from concept, even if it's just an idea, sort of itching around in your brain. We take that idea and we slap it onto this one pager, and we have a look like, okay, where should you focus? What's the riskiest part of your business at this moment that you should focus on? And typically, and we've talked about this before, is you start to think about this tool called the innovation trend. which we stole from Strategizer. We steal everything from Strategizer because they do amazing templates.
They're really good. And maybe we'll put the links in the description below for our listeners to have some exposure to. You said the word Lean Canvas, which is also the one pager. Strategizer provides a lot of these concept development tools, more of the thinking tools to guide your thinking through development. Would you agree that's kind of what they do well?
Precisely. That's exactly what they do well, is help you at early stages just figure out, like, how can I display my idea even in a way where I can find steps forward?
Yeah.
And that's particularly what that canvas does, is we go, okay, you have an idea about this is amazing, nobody's doing this, but what are the problems? Like every business in the world is trying to solve a problem. It doesn't matter if it's a restaurant, a video game, it doesn't matter. It's solving a problem for a certain group at the beginning. And having people, founders especially, look at their business instead of something flashy and great that they want to show the world, to help them shift that thinking to, there's a problem here.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to do something different, make something better, fill a gap that nobody is filling adequately at the moment, whether that be a new thing or an existing business.
Yeah.
So if they're thinking about that problem and being obsessed with the problem, that helps them be a little more flexible and agile for when their customers, the people they should be talking to often, frequently, when they go, this is a real problem, but I don't need an app. What I need is actually to consult with a human being, or
service.
I actually need like a physical service or a widget or something like that. It helps guide how eventually you're going to solve that problem. And the biggest thing about the canvas, beside being like a nice one-pager snapshot
plan on a page,
focusing on, is you should be absolutely thinking about talking to people early, often. Get out there, get off your butt, go and talk to people, go and figure out, is this something I should be even pursuing? Is this something that I should give my money, my time, my attention to? And the only people that can ever answer that are your potential users, customers. So talking to them early, going out and finding out this idea for, I don't know, for a pet dating app. It maybe it's something, but go out and find out. So
I love that.
People, go ahead.
No, I could lock in, because this is my world as well on the financing side of it. And what I'm hearing and what I think you're talking about is you're setting people up to meet the expectation that a lot of venture capitalists don't explicitly tell you as an entrepreneur and a founder, is saying, hey man, you got to have product market fit. How do we know? Help me as your potential partner investor believe that there's a market for this. And so exactly what you're saying. And so we on the finance side call it product market fit. That term is thrown around a lot, which is essentially saying, hey, have you convinced anybody to do anything with your idea? Whether it's subscribe, sign up, pay you money, is it great? But all that does is you can have one person, right? You just got to show some kind of traction somewhere in ways that an investor can value it. And you and I talked about Facebook in the early days when he was when Mark Zuckerberg was raising capital to fund his idea, his killer app, so to speak, before there were apps. And too many founders and entrepreneurs, and maybe you found the same thing, is they get worried. They think raising venture capital is some form of witchcraft, and they're a little scared of it. Really, the good venture capitalists say, I want to help you, but I also am accountable to investors, so we need to make money. And so product market fit helps to mitigate the risk in the mind of the investor to say, hey, even though perhaps we don't have traction with revenue yet, but we do have traction in Facebook's case of adoption. And so they sold it not on the revenue, but on the adoption. And they said, hey, we can articulate value. We can articulate that we put this out to market. We've got early adopters. In fact, and here's the progression of our adoption. So bringing people in, and you always had a great saying that I've totally stolen, which is this 3-ring Venn diagram between desirability, viability, and feasibility. Maybe can you walk our listeners through a little bit of what that means, and are there some more important than others, and exploring the desirability of your product, the viability of your product, and the feasibility of your product. What is that, and why does it matter?
Yeah, awesome question too. And I wish I could put my name to have invented this amazing diagram. I did.
You're the promoter.
Man, wish I'm the promoter. I'm
the next one. Yeah,
but I'll do it. I'll do the Ham diagram.
Sure.
And just sort of massage that one. But so the innovation trinity is so important, because you're exactly right. What it is it's the 3 largest domains of any business. And what you're trying to do is find that sweet spot between, like you said, that desirability, that feasibility, and viability. And what desirability means is in the simplest terms, do people want this?
Yeah.
Or do people care enough, like you said, to want more of this and feel like this is going to fulfill the problem that they're facing?
Yeah.
And desirability to me is the most important. It's the typical reason why most startups fail.
Yeah.
Is they haven't found, like you said, people who care, people who actually want you to do this.
Yeah.
And once you're finding that, folks, that's like you put it there, Ryan, which is awesome, is you're looking at that product market fit.
Yeah.
You're starting to eke toward that, where do I belong in this market where I can make the largest impact?
Yeah.
By finding out who I'm building it for, and discovering that they actually want this, that they're frothing at the mouth to slap their hard-earned money in my pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we look at the feasibility. Can you build what you promised? Are you actually able to assemble the solution in the way that you have been talking to people about, or that they want? So you explore, can I go out? Does it exist? Is it feasible for me to build what I am promising people?
Right.
And you explore that whole domain. And then that viability is, can I actually sustain a business doing this? Is the cost of building it sinking me because I can't sell it for enough to pay my bills, pay my staff, pay for growth and things like that? That's what you're doing with viability. Mm-hmm. Is, how much of my time and self do I need to dedicate to the business? What do I need in order to scale, to find other markets, to reach other possible segments and make my business sustainable?
Yeah.
So finding that sweet spot, the ability to find the people that care enough about it, to be able to build it, to actually be able to access the technology or whatever you need in order to construct it.
Yeah.
And then, can I keep a sustained business? Can I make money and pay myself and my staff and all the people that contribute to the idea? And again, it's that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Those are the strongest businesses.
Right.
And what that looks like changes business to business to business. But you need to be aware of it. You need to have that in your sights at all times.
Yes.
Because when you lose one, when you veer off in one, you get enamored with building your product, which a lot of people who are development background are.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, and I can add this feature. I can make it fuzzy and red and taste like lemon. And it's like, well, yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But should you?
Should you?
Know? Is that something that's realistic? Or, I've staffed myself with the best people and man, we're paying the highest wages and, we're looking to do this massive market scale. Great. Mm. Can you meet the demand of your product though? Are you still able to keep feasibly building it? Or are you trying to shove it down our throat? Or did you find the group that are going to be your evangelists for it?
Yeah.
You gotta be careful. You gotta stay in that middle, that sweet spot.
I love that. And, thank you for that. And that alone. So when I'm hearing a pitch of a potential position that I'm going to take in a company, I'm literally cycling through those 3 things. This is another inside track of the mind of the VC. It's not so mysterious. So we're unwinding the mystery of that relationship between founders and funders. And so as a funder, that's one of the things that I look for. And compliment to you, you're where I learned it. So with that, desirability, viability, and feasibility, I would argue that all need to be in place in order for this thing to grow legs, I think is what we said earlier. But I would say
Mhm.
I look at the example of Google Glass. Okay. So Google Glass, there's augmented reality. They would go around and people, it crashed and burned, right? And was it viable? Could they? Yeah, okay. Was it feasible? Could they build it? Well, obviously they did. Was it desirable? Did the market actually want it? Well, from what I understand, those people who would wear Google Glass were called glass holes because people didn't want to be recorded, right? So there was this feature, and maybe they had scope creep or whatever. They had this feature where people were just like always on edge. Not that they were doing something, but when you're being recorded, there's a something that people, their natural behavior changes, and behavioral psychologists would confirm that when people know they're being recorded, they don't behave naturally. And so the desirability, I would argue, is what led to the downfall of a very cool product. It was a cool product. It really was.
Yeah.
It was ahead of its time,
cool
not
product.
too ahead of its time, but the desirability wasn't there. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. Like Google had the resources to build it. Absolutely.
Yeah, they could.
They had the resources to sustain it for sure. I think that they would be able to make a strong model. But 1,000% right. I mean, you got those gadget heads like myself, really, that are like, oh, I love the ability to augment my reality and then, curate my world.
Yes.
But absolutely, if they would have talked to more people and found out, hey, this is a huge invasion of any kind of privacy that I have. And exactly that. I don't trust that the person wearing this is not filming me and making their own OnlyFans page.
Exactly. Yeah,
exactly that. So 100%, man, I agree. The desirability, was very lacking. They just assumed, I think, that people will see this sweet tech and go, yes, this is the new world.
Yeah.
And it was kind of an expensive
flop
test, really, for them, I think. Flop.
Yeah. Yeah, I always joke that, you pay tuition either way. So that was a very expensive bill to learn. But, rounding out this thought. So Google paid a hefty tuition to learn that lesson of desirability. So, rounding out this thought, we started this conversation on like, where do I go from a good idea? And you mentioned, Strategizer, Lean Canvas is a good place. One pager, just get your thoughts on the page. It really fleshes out, as we say, you don't know what you don't know until you try to write it down in a structured way. And pretty soon, some of those boxes aren't filled out because you don't have the answers. That's your first clue that maybe you don't go to a venture capitalist yet until you're able to flesh out your market, the desirability, the viability, the feasibility. And most importantly, I think where we arrived in this conversation is desirability leads, if there is a desire for this product, a need or a service, there will be a product market fit. And, I just want to round out this part of the segment on how do you show traction? We talked a little bit about Facebook and, they were able to convince investors that they're onto something, not through revenue. And I know a lot of founders are, they're worried to go in front of venture capitalists to say, we don't have revenue. And, we're like, yeah, man, we know. Like you're just starting out. We get it. There's or maybe a little bit of revenue, but no profit because you're reinvesting or whatever it is. It's okay. It's okay to say, I don't have revenue, but it's not okay to just go in there and ask for money and not show that there's some value, some kind of fit in the market. So what are some areas that either 100%. You can think of or that you've seen where founders can articulate value in a non-financial way?
Great question. And man, we get this a lot. And traction is like one of those elusive animals that people are always chasing and trying to define for themselves. And that's great, Ryan. It does not have to be necessarily monetary. It doesn't have to be dollars. You're exactly right. But it has to be proof in some fashion or another that people actually want this or are eager to keep using it, so that traction can take the form of many different heads. It can be really anything that has that proof. And for example, you brought up earlier users like Facebook, the people that are constantly using it, and you need to get specific too with it. So it's not necessarily new users. It's not people downloading my app, right? Because really, for me to download an app or to sign up for something, that doesn't take a lot of commitment from me. Like that's not a lot of skin off my nose to go and download the greatest app and give it a look, right? I might not use it. I got shit on my phone that I haven't touched in years. That's not a commitment from me. So when I think about it, what would make that actually tangible, good, committed data? Well, people who are constantly using it, that not just download it, but are using it in their everyday or in a regular basis. That carries weight. It's like, look, I provided this tool, this great thing that people can't get enough of. Right? I haven't monetized it yet, but people are incorporating it in their work, in their day, in their social life. They're using it. That is good traction. That shows that people are, I like how this rolls. I like using this more than once. That's the key. We want to show that we have proof that people are constantly wanting to access it, use it, incorporate it again, like I said, in their every day. That is a great form of traction. Some products don't lend themselves to that, to having that constant user. And so we need to show traction in other ways. Sometimes that traction is in the form of endorsement. Maybe it's people who are influential in the market, who carry a lot of social credibility, a lot of weight, and they are obsessed with the potential of the idea, and they're willing to put their neck on the line a little bit for that product. If that person is influential enough, right? If that person is a figurehead in that industry, no matter what they are, that can also show traction. Getting someone who has the chops in the industry to say, hey, pay attention to these guys because they've got something. That may be strong enough for an investor to at least take notice. If not, want to find out more. Other forms of traction can be the ways that you can get people to commit to things, right? Letters of intent. If you're in a business like a B2B, that can be really beneficial. If I was building something for the construction industry and I had the director of PCL say, hey, once this is even fractionally built, we want this. We want to use this. We want to trial this. We want to test this. This letter of intent gives, I think, a little more credibility that you're onto something. If it's like, if I approach you, Ryan, I say, I've got something here and I have all these businesses that are right on board. Here's the proof once I build it, because the proof of concept might take a little cash. But once I even have an MVP, a prototype even of it, they want to try it. They want it. That might carry a little weight if I don't have those users or that money per se. So in the end, traction can look like many different things, but it's the proof. It's the proof that you're onto something. It's the proof that people want to use it, will continue to use it, or are frothing at the mouth for you to make the next move. And what that looks like for businesses, it's always different.
I love that. And so what, as you're talking, I'm thinking, obviously, filtering it through my lens as an investor and just picturing someone, and even myself, in front of any investor to say, hey, I got a thing, and I think you should join me as we develop and grow this thing and bring it to the market. So we've established product market fit, measuring the value, even though maybe you don't have revenue. Likely a founder won't have revenue, but that doesn't mean you can't show value. So then ultimately, kind of rounding out this part is saying, hey, founder, for those of you that are listening, one good idea is not just like build the thing, but make sure that you build it with the value proposition. So think about you in front of an investor, venture capitalists. I mean, these people not only throw money, but they mentor you, right? The good ones do. So they may sit on your board and just kind of be there to help you out. And so if they take a position, it's a big deal for them. They got a lot of money on the line and they're very busy. So to dedicate their time, they have to be very selective. And in order to do that and to build the confidence of investors and also fans is go about your development process, your ideation, and even you mentioned MVP, your minimal viable product, your prototype. Go through those things with the understanding that you need to track something. So it's not enough to develop a product or a service, but part of your development product isn't the product. It's the measurement and the growth and the adoption of that product. You do both, and you're a lot more. You're better positioned to start bringing more people, investors, capital, resources, early adopters, the whole fan base starts showing up when you're able to develop a good product, but also measure the value in meaningful ways. Would you agree?
Exactly.
All right, I pulled all that out of you.
All that. You encapsulated my wandering mind. I love it.
No, this is good.
100% I agree with that.
I love it. So now that we've gone through the ideation stage, we've got entrepreneurs who are listening to this and they're like, all right, I got to go to Strategizer or find some kind of lean canvas, just really get my thoughts down, figure out what I don't know, and then solve that. So here we are, lean canvas in hand. I got a plan on how to build my prototype, how to track the value so that I can later on talk to investors about it. Now that we're there, now we're ready, moving forward to maybe not everybody who's listening is in ideation phase. Some of them already have a working prototype or at least a plan. So people like that who are a little bit further down the road, and they want to go into, say, Series A, or they're raising capital, they've got a good idea, maybe early test results. After talking to you, I know there's some other tools that are out there that facilitate a process on kind of fleshing out your early prototypes, prototyping stage. Maybe can you kind of bring us up to speed on what you've seen or what advice you would give to founders who have the plan? Now what? Now, how do I actually execute on developing my idea? In like the first iteration, what the heck do I do? Now I got this piece of paper. Where do I go from here?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it should be methodical in that way, Ryan. You're absolutely right. You should be like, okay, I've gotten to this stage. I'm much more certain about the classification, the context of product I need to build. Maybe I've built some of it. Yeah. Exactly. What do I do now? Yeah. Is a great question. And really it comes down to now testing. It comes down to how can I make sure that I continue to build the right product, but I'm also testing with people. And what's funny, I'll take it back a little bit, is all the people that you verified with at the beginning in your discovery, everybody that you talk to figure out if you're chasing the right problem even initially, well, those are then hopefully going to be your beta testers. Right? You drag them kicking and screaming through the whole process so that you're testing with people who obviously have the problem, and you are getting the most authentic feedback because they're invested in it in some degree, emotionally or whatever. Right. So tools to help with that testing phase and there's many, and we stole, I was stealing a lot. No, we borrowed from Strategizer again, but specifically a fella named David Bland, who has a book called Testing Business Ideas. And this is a phenomenal resource to be at that stage where you have some forms, some classification, some iteration of your product. And then you got to be able to create tests to make sure that you are now investing money in the right place. You do stuff like your product roadmap when you figure out, am I building the most saleable features in the right order that's going to appeal to the customers? And it helps you manage your cash if you're pouring money into it. And also, what are you testing at each and every stage? Now, there's the product roadmap, the customer journey, building personas. All these are amazing tools. And what we use, one of the, and I'm talking about, when I say we, I'm talking about Innovate Edmonton, Startup Edmonton in particular. What we do there, what the tools that we use is Miro. Miro.com is a phenomenal tool to collaborate, to start to flesh out all these templates, store them in a place where you can get many touch points. Many people can come and help contribute and guide a lot of your mapping, a lot of your you can even put like versions of your product on this piece of software in a visual representation, and have people come in and go, oh, I see what you're doing here, or let's map out, let's use this great framework to discover my user steps to figure out like the progression of someone utilizing my product or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's Miro. I highly recommend Miro as a fantastic collaboration tool to start. And they've got templates. They've got tons and tons of templates that are for early stage, startups, for startups at various different areas. And that's what we use in our curriculum is those templates and those tools. But using something like Miro helps you put it in a format that's collaborative, and you can invite actually your customers and your testers to come in and run great little virtual tests of your product. Again, it doesn't matter if it's a service, a widget, a restaurant, app, piece of software. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can get some kind of visual representation of what you intend to do with your business and walk people through it. Have them discover all the things that you're hoping to add and then invite their feedback into it.
Right.
And that collaborative process, again, like I can only imagine, must be appealing to those that would then put money into your business. If you're like, hey, I conducted all these tests, I've verified that I know exactly what I need to spend money on when I have money. It's in this area of development. It's in staffing this person, and figuring out, am I on the right track? I've got this evidence that I'm building the right kind of thing.
Yeah.
Again, like from an investor perspective, I imagine that helps with your due diligence in some degree.
Oh yeah. It's so Miro is a helpful tool. It sounds like not only collaborating, but collecting feedback, doing testing, which all again comes back to our early thing, is to say, hey, you can provide results to say version 1 was a total flop, Mr. Big Stuff investor. Version 2, we got a little bit more traction, and you can literally walk your investor, but also your partners and other interested parties through the development, the iterations, while also collaborating on that tool. So it's a collaboration tool. It's not just testing. That's my understanding. Is that right?
Exactly. It's collaboration. It's a great place to house. It's a whiteboard. It's a sticky board that houses everything that you've been building thus far, and then to walk someone through the generations of that your product has taken after this testing.
Right.
Again, what you talk about evidence. Here's evidence that we're actually, pressure testing areas of this product. We're making sure we're getting fact. We're reducing the risk that we are maybe not building the right kind of thing.
Awesome. And, after you've talked about in the early days, you used another app, which I thought was really cool. There's a couple. So one is called Marvel. And the other one is App Composer, right? You mentioned earlier that someone's like, I got this killer app and I mortgaged my house and I developed this thing. And it's like, oh, let's slow your roll. We got to make sure, should you? Do people even want it before you really dive deep into that? So maybe just while we're on the topic of, fleshing out your idea now that you have a concept. So Miro is really good, but there's other tools, technologies that are free, if not reasonably cheap, to help founders to create that evidence, to develop their product. Maybe walk us through a little bit of what some of the founders can expect using Marvel and App Composer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Marvel in particular is it's been on the market for a while, and it's meant to be a place where you as a non-techie founder, and I couldn't write a lick of code to save my life. Right? I am not. What is it? Hugh Jackman in Swordfish, kind of thing, which is a deep cut. Anyway,
your strengths are elsewhere.
My strengths are elsewhere. So, but using Marvel's kind of a drop and drag way to build what I feel like is going to be my app, right? What the way I want it to be laid out, the way that I would like the pages to flow, and things like that. And that's what Marvel's very good at, is helping me as someone who is not a UX or UI designer, who is not a developer, start to assemble the concept that I want to give someone so that they can understand what my intention is. And it's a great way to visually display that and to give people that idea. Now, the limitations to Marvel is it's very difficult to take that as someone who's a non-developer, to take that and then put that in the hands of someone who then needs to make it a reality and make it functional.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to initially map it. But in that translation into development, it can get kind of tricky because there's other aspects of development that we don't think about when we are constructing it if that's not our background.
Right.
But it's a great tool to get you started. What I like about this other product, App Composer, and this is from a founder that is in startup at the moment, which is amazing, is they recognize the limitations of some of this software, of the way that that gap, that translation of here's my pretty pictures, make this functional, and a developer going, well, I'm going to have to do this and this to make this happen if you want this, and that price meter starts to go ding 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 ding, ding right? Well, because it's going to take more and more work.
Yeah, it gives founders palpitations.
But App Composer, no, get it? Yeah, a little. How much now? What if it just said, Can I do this on a Facebook webpage?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
So App Composer is good because it has the same functionality of that. Mm-hmm. You're able to assemble your vision of what you'd like your app to do, but it's using no-code tools that can be then converted into the later stage of development. So it sort of sets up the features that you want on your product, and when you hand it over to a developer, they go, okay, this building block is already here. So I can now make this a little more functional. I'm able to look at what you hope to do, and I can kind of just flick the switch on a few of these and make it a reality now, because the back-end work on my end has been completed by the people who built App Composer. Right. And as for a founder who doesn't have a lot of cash, that lowers that price tag a lot.
Awesome.
And the speed that they are able to then convert that into something functional so you can get in yourself in the market is way, way faster.
Wow.
So there's more and more tools pumping out there. There's another one called Figma, which is fantastic for not just app development, but also sort of mapping out your web pages and things like that. And all these tools obviously are centered around a virtual product, but that's usually where people get tripped up, especially when they're like a non-technical person. Is they're like, oh, there's this, like, besides investment being this magical world, there's another world adjacent to investment land,
the multiverse,
that is development world.
Yes,
it's the multiverse. That's it of business building.
Yeah.
But this other magical land where it is so misunderstood in a lot of ways by a lot of founders that are non-technical, that they're terrified to even navigate those waters.
Yeah,
it's filled with horror stories of, I got my somebody I know got their app developed here or overseas, and it cost them $300,000, and they got ripped off, and it was non-communicative, and blah 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 blah, that kind of thing. So people are worried that when they put their baby in the hands of someone that's meant to help it become a human, a full-grown human, that they're going to look for opportunities to get ripped off, that you're, because you don't understand the process, all these new, steps that developers add in are just meant to bleed you dry or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of uncertainty in it. And that's what I like to think that App Composer really assists with.
I love that.
But,
go ahead.
There's Wireframe Sketcher. There's all sorts on the market that you can try out, at least to give you a hand. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a few. But in the end, I think the biggest thing when you're going to engage in a tool, or your intention is to eventually develop it into something that is functional in some way, talk to other founders. Get off your butt and go chat to people who are in the same situation and learn from their experiences.
Yeah.
Find out maybe from people who unfortunately went down a trickier road, ways that you can avoid that same roadmap.
I love that. So we've got a lot of tools. Man, we have covered 100 miles in, it feels like seconds. I love it. And that's exactly the kind of guy, for our listeners out there, either reach out to Tristan or someone around your community, someone that can really cover a lot of ground, get right to the point and say, don't do that. That's stupid. Do it like this. And that's what a mentor does. That's what a guide, incubators, which, you're a massive part of your own incubator. You're in Unbounded Thinking. You do a lot of stuff. But one of the greatest values, and as an investor, I thank you very much for helping founders to kind of get ready for that big meeting, is to say, all right, it's not enough to develop a good idea. You need to develop a good idea with the insight in mind that I have to demonstrate value. Eventually, someone's going to ask me, what value are you creating? What value can I get out if I support that? Are you going to save me time? Are you going to cost me time? Are you going to save me money or cost me money? And so a lot of the people, not only the market, but the investors and supporters. Support comes in many forms. So it's not enough just to develop a cool product and then everyone's going to line up. Maybe that'll happen, but from my experience and maybe yours, it's usually the exception than the rule. The rule typically follows is saying, hey, you got to show that we have traction. So when you develop it, do it in a way that you test your ideas in the market. You can demonstrate that the market has value. You have adoption. There's some kind of value that you're creating. Here's a few tools. If you're interested, you can use these tools to test your ideas, to get feedback from the market, and then pay attention to desirability, viability, and feasibility. Desirability being the main thing, but all need to be addressed. Would you say that's a good summary of everything we've covered?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely right. And I think that, thinking largely about the larger picture absolutely gives you better direction as to what you should be focusing on first. And obviously, the riskiest parts of any of your business, you should be pouring your attention to. But yeah, that's a lovely summary of the way to start to think about this idea that's been rattling around in your head, or an existing innovation to an existing company or something like that, for sure.
Yeah. So the one final thing is we round third base, headed home on our coverage on tools and techniques to support our founders, is something, and I've used this on some of the companies that I've invested in. It's three letters, acronyms: TAM, SAM, and SOM. TAM, SAM, SOM. And what this does, and I'll let you fill in the blanks here, but what this does is essentially it's a very easy exercise to kind of start large, as we say, the 30,000 foot view, which is TAM. And it's really just saying, what size of the market is there, and is it big enough for us to should we even build this thing? Is there enough of a market? That's important. And as an investor, that's important too. And I'll tell you, one of the best pitches I ever heard is literally his opening phrase is, hey, Ryan, I don't know if you know this, but currently there are 800 million people around the world that are in such dire poverty they can't even afford electricity in their home. And then he went on to explain all of these cool things that they're doing, and they built this solar power to bring energy to third world markets. My first thought as an investor, as he explained his TAM, was 800 million. That's a big market. I can make money there. And the second thing is 800 million. There's a lot of people that need help, that need this product, need it. Not nice to have, might like it if they're in the right shopping aisle. No, they need this product. And so assessing that, not only is it good for the entrepreneur and the founder, but it's also good to illustrate the TAM, SAM, and SOM for your investors. So now that I've prefaced all of that, maybe can you just give a quick little synopsis on what TAM, SAM, SOM is, and from your perspective on the other side, working with founders, how does that really help them?
Yeah, this amazing tool, absolutely, and I love that. I love that opening, that hook that that individual gave you, because that is awesome. We work a lot on telling the story of your business, about articulating it, and
Yeah.
how do we get people sucked in right away, right?
Yeah.
And that is an awesome way to go about that. But
Mhm.
but yeah, what they've done is they've taken that blown up view, like you said, 30,000 foot view of the potential of this market in the largest area that they think they could tackle, and that's the point of the TAM, the total addressable market, is looking at, okay, what kind of ecosystem do I want to really enter here, and how large is it? How large is that industry? And what we do to help people start to realize that TAM is to start to do those Google searches, look for statistics, look for what people are spending in their industry in more of a looser sense, right? So if I was creating a brand new comb for beauticians or something like that, well, I'd like to know, say, if my TAM is Canada, I'd like to know what people are spending on beauty products, if I can, specifically in hair care products within Canada. What are people spending dollar-wise there? And give me an idea that, okay, people are actually spending a fair bit, probably in the billions. So there is potential that if my idea is exciting enough, if it's original enough, that I might be able to take a slice of that larger business, that larger industry, and at some point.
Right.
So if people are spending a lot of money in this industry, like you said, that gives me at least a little more verification that maybe I should pursue this a little more.
Right.
If my TAM is not that large, if I'm looking like, you know what, there's niches within this and people aren't actually spending a whole lot of money, they might be really happy with the solutions they've got, and they're not exploring other possibilities, that might factor into if I should pursue this. Or once we have an idea about what our TAM is, and there's many ways that you can do that. Like I said, explore statistics from other countries and then compare it to the population of where you are and where you want to tackle. And that'll help you at least have a ballpark figure around what is being spent there or what is being affected in that larger world. With the SAM, your serviceable addressable market, then you're bringing it almost geographically closer to you and having an idea about, okay, what are people spending in this market that is a little closer to home? What is this in a market that's probably easier for me to access? And is this still enough? Are people still spending enough in this market that I could affect this? You're also getting narrower down in maybe specifically your industry. So now if I'm selling brushes and combs, well, I'm looking what people are spending on maybe that specific product now. So that it gives me a much clearer picture that people are constantly looking for the new innovation in hair technology, whatever. So it gives me a little more idea what I could reasonably tackle within that ecosystem.
Yeah, like right now. So you go from the largest market to say, here's the total size, like the one gentleman has said 800 million people. It's saying, okay. And then, I worked with them because I thought they were onto something. And we worked through TAM, SAM, SOM to help me understand the size and potential value of the company. Just kind of give people this dynamic between founder and investor of how do we get on the same language and how do you communicate that? So TAM is the total size of the market, or TAM literally says total addressable market. What is the grand size? Then serviceable available market is how many people could you reach right now? Would you agree that kind of a decent summary of that? And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we go down even more precise is to say, how many people could I reach right now with the resources that I have right now? And that is your serviceable, obtainable market, or your SOM. Can you walk a little bit through the SOM side of it?
Yeah. So again, it could be sort of geographically or within your resources. Who could you affect right now? That's exactly it. And also, being aware of who else is operating in this market, knowing that you are going to, like, the new customers don't just come in to fulfill a new person on the market. They just don't come out of nowhere. You're taking a slice of that pie away from others. So now you're looking at your direct competition as well. And what are they doing? And then value starts to creep in there because you are starting to calculate, well, I'm offering something better than Larry down the street who's selling combs as well. So what can I reasonably remove from Larry's customers, given my resources, my abilities at this moment? Given that I offer something different, what can I reasonably affect of this immediate market right in front of me to give me an idea about, am I still on the right track? Should I still be pursuing this? And if I had to sell tomorrow, who could I reasonably affect as far as customers and who I'm going to create waves for in the market, in my immediate market as well. Yeah. So it gives you a much more micro picture of what you could and should be achieving in early stages of your business, what you can predict your revenue could be. And as an investor, if I showed you that I've done my due diligence in looking what the huge potential is, what the closer potential is, and then what I could do for you right now, given the way that I'm charging, given the way that I am adding value into this industry and disrupting the other people doing something similar, it gives you an idea about how I can affect my growth, how I can really predict how well my business is going to do, given that I'm going to show you evidence, of how I'm affecting the market right in front of me.
I love it.
And hopefully that alleviates a bit of risk.
Yeah. Well, that is really good. And my goodness, we gotta bring you back on the show. I feel like we just scratched the surface of your amazing brain and your theatrics. I love it. You're such a fun guy. I see why so many people go to you to help out. It's not only do you have the brilliant mind and the expertise on starting businesses, but you keep it fun, right? I mean, being a founder can wear you down a little bit sometimes, but dare I say it's fun. It's fun on both sides, being a funder and a founder. That's enough for me. And Tristan, I hope you enjoyed our time together. On a final thought, build your one page, ensure there's a product market fit, and articulate your TAM, SAM, and SOM, and you too will have the skills you need as a founder in your pursuit of making billions. Wow, what a show. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Now, if you haven't done so already, be sure to leave a comment and review on new ideas and guests you want me to bring on for future episodes. Plus, why don't you head over to YouTube and see extra takes while you get to know our guests even better. And make sure to come back for our next episode where we dive even deeper into the people, the process, and the perspectives of both investors and founders. Until then, my friends, stay hungry, focus on your goals, and keep grinding towards your dream of making billions.